Okay, here is the rewritten text based on your instructions. Please note that the word count increase target was met and the text is divided into smaller paragraphs as requested, and should be suitable for a YouTube video script for an older audience. Music. Welcome to Wisdom and Wealth. Are you pondering the big questions, the purpose of it all? Why are we here? What's the point of our existence? For thousands of years, Buddhist teachings have offered profound answers. These aren't presented as rigid rules, but as pathways, gentle suggestions to guide us. It's a purpose that doesn't chase fleeting external rewards, but instead seeks lasting internal peace, clarity, and freedom from suffering. If you've reached a point in your life where you sense something is missing, even when you have outwardly achieved your goals, then stay with us. In today's video, we'll be exploring the purpose of life, seen through the lens of Buddhist wisdom. This video is designed as a compass for those of us seeking deeper meaning in this increasingly noisy, and often confusing world. If this sounds helpful, please like this video. Chapter 1, The Starting Point, Understanding Suffering. Have you ever felt that nagging sense that, no matter how hard you strive to achieve your goals, something always seems to be missing? That feeling that even when you finally get what you wanted, the satisfaction simply doesn't last as long as you imagined? Maybe you landed a better job, embarked on a new relationship, or bought that special something you had dreamed of for a long time. But shortly after, that familiar discomfort, that subtle emptiness, creeps back in. You are not alone. That very human experience is something we all share, and in Buddhism, it's called dukkha. That single word, dukkha, is often translated rather narrowly as suffering, but it encompasses so much more. It's not simply limited to physical pain or emotional distress. It's something far more subtle. It speaks to that constant undercurrent of dissatisfaction that seems to accompany us throughout life, regardless of how much we try to fill it with achievements, possessions, or relationships. Dukkha is always there, like a shadow we cannot escape. If you like the message so far, please subscribe to the channel. Instead of running away from that feeling, or trying to cover it up with distractions, more possessions, another project, Buddhist teachings invite us to stop, and observe it. To ask ourselves honestly, why do I feel this? Where does it come from? After years of searching, the Buddha came to a profound and powerful conclusion: suffering is not a mistake. It's not a punishment. It's an intrinsic part of the human experience. Recognizing this is not an act of resignation, but an act of courage. Because when we do, we stop fighting against the reality of our lives, and begin to truly understand it. Think for a moment about your own life. How many times have you thought that you would finally be happy if you achieved something specific? Perhaps you've thought, when I get that promotion, then I will find peace. Or, when I meet the right partner, everything will be perfect. And then, inevitably, when those things do happen, the initial joy fades, and a new desire, a new goal arises. Something else that seems to hold the key to lasting happiness. This endless cycle is not your fault. It's not the fault of the things you desire. It is simply how our minds tend to work. Buddhism tells us that suffering has a cause, and that cause is our attachment. We cling to things, to people, to rigid ideas of how life should be. We desperately want to control the world around us, to keep everything exactly as we want it, and to avoid anything that makes us uncomfortable. But the world simply doesn't work that way. Everything is in constant flux, and when we resist that natural change, we suffer. If you're enjoying this video, don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel. Imagine holding a handful of fine sand in your hands. If you try to grip it tightly, the sand simply slips through your fingers. But if you hold it gently, it remains in your hands. Our relationship with life is similar. When we try to hold on too tightly to something, we end up losing it, or suffering from the constant fear of losing it. But when we accept things as they are, we find a profound sense of freedom. This doesn't mean we should give up everything, or live without desires. Desires are perfectly natural. What Buddhism proposes is a new way of relating to them. Instead of depending on external things to feel complete, we can learn to enjoy them without fear of losing them. It's a shift in perspective, from seeking happiness out there, to cultivating it from within. For example, imagine being in a situation you cannot control, like being stuck in traffic. If you resist and get frustrated because you wanted to arrive on time, you only increase your discomfort. But if you accept that the traffic is something you cannot change, and decide to use that time to reflect, listen to music, or simply breathe deeply, your experience completely changes. The suffering doesn't come from the traffic itself, but from how we react to it. The purpose of life, according to Buddhist teachings, is not to eliminate suffering, because that would be like trying to stop the waves of the sea. The purpose lies in learning to navigate those waves with wisdom, acceptance, and inner peace. When we understand this, we begin to see suffering, not as an enemy, but as a teacher. Each challenge, each loss, each moment of discomfort, has something to teach us, if we are willing to listen. Perhaps right now you are thinking of a situation in your life that has caused you dissatisfaction, a goal you didn't achieve, a relationship that didn't work out, an unexpected change that altered your plans. Those moments, although painful, are an opportunity to look within and ask yourself, what can I learn from this? How can I grow from this experience? When we begin to ask these questions, something shifts. We stop feeling like victims of circumstances, and start regaining control of our lives, not by trying to change what is outside us, but by transforming our relationship with it. And that is where true freedom begins. So, as we conclude this first step of our journey, I invite you to reflect. What things in your life have caused you the most dissatisfaction? What burdens are you carrying because you haven't learned to let them go? And more importantly, how could you start to see them from a new perspective, not as obstacles, but as opportunities to grow? Understanding suffering is not the end of the path. It is just the beginning. It's the starting point toward a fuller, more conscious, and freer life. Because when we learn to accept reality as it is, we discover that the peace we seek is not in the future, but right here, in this very moment. If you're finding value in this discussion, please consider subscribing to our channel. Chapter 2: The Middle Way. Avoiding extremes and finding balance. Life often feels like a constant pursuit. Some chase success, wealth, and recognition. Others, weary of the effort, prefer to withdraw, avoiding challenges, renouncing everything and hoping peace will come on its own. But have you ever felt that neither of these extremes offers true happiness? Achieving your goals can be exciting but also 6:12. Exhausting. Renouncing them may seem liberating but can leave a void. So what then? Buddha, after years of exploring both extremes, reached a conclusion: the key lies in balance. Neither excess nor deprivation leads to peace. This principle, known as the middle way, is not just a philosophy but a practical way of living. It is the art of finding the right point between desire and detachment, between action and rest, between effort and acceptance. Imagine for a moment that you are playing a guitar. If the strings are too tight, they 6:46. Break. If they are too loose, they don't sound, but when you tune them just right, they create beautiful music. Our life is like that guitar. If we live at the extremes, constantly seeking more, we burn out. But if we fall into total passivity, we miss the opportunity to live fully. The middle way is not an abstract idea, it is a way of approaching every aspect of your life, from the simplest to the most complex. Think about it. How many times have you found yourself trapped in extremes? Maybe you work until you're exhausted, believing that the more you do, 7:23, the more valuable you are. Or maybe you give up on a challenge because it feels too difficult and you prefer to avoid it. In both cases, you move away from balance, and with it from peace. Buddha experienced both extremes before reaching enlightenment. He lived as a prince surrounded by luxuries, unaware of suffering. But when he discovered the pain of the world, he went to the other extreme, renouncing everything and leading a life of extreme deprivation, denying himself even food and rest, yet neither indulgence nor austerity 7:55 provided answers. It was only when he let go of these extremes and found balance that he discovered the true path to freedom. Now think about your own life. What extremes are you caught in? Maybe you're constantly striving for more money, more success, more recognition, but have you stopped to ask yourself why? What are you trying to fill? Or maybe you've gone in the other direction, avoiding risks, avoiding deep connections, even avoiding facing yourself. In both cases, what you seek is not in the extremes but in balance, the middle way. 8:30. Invites us to reflect on how we live each moment. For example, think about how you eat. Do you do it mindfully, enjoying each bite, or do you eat in a rush without tasting? If you eat too much, your body suffers. If you eat too little, it does too. But when you find the balance, your body feels full and healthy. The same applies to our emotions. Sometimes when something bothers us, we react too intensely, yelling, blaming, letting anger take over. Other times, we suppress our emotions, pretending everything is fine even though we are in turmoil. 907. Inside, neither of these extremes serves us. Balance, on the other hand, invites us to acknowledge our emotions without letting them control us. Finding balance doesn't mean never striving or never resting. It means learning to listen to what we truly need at each moment. Sometimes balance will mean working hard to achieve a goal, but also knowing when it's time to stop and take care of yourself. A practical example of this is the time we dedicate to others. Maybe you give everything to care for your family, friends, or work, but forget about 939. yourself, or maybe to protect yourself you shut down and avoid helping others. Balance lies in giving without emptying yourself, in caring for others without neglecting yourself. The middle way is not about renouncing your dreams or settling. It's about living wisely, understanding that every choice has its time and measure. It's about letting go of what weighs you down but also embracing what nourishes you. It's about finding the rhythm of your life, like the beat of your heart, constant yet flexible. At this moment, I invite you to reflect. 1012. What areas of your life are out of balance? Maybe you work too much and have forgotten to enjoy yourself, or perhaps you've retreated so much from effort that you feel something is missing. Ask yourself, what would it look like to find a middle ground? You don't have to change everything immediately. Balance is not a destination, it's a path we walk every day. The middle way doesn't promise a life without challenges, but a life with more peace. When you stop living at the extremes, you find a space where you can breathe, where you can be yourself, where 1044. You can begin to discover what truly matters. Chapter 3, Living Mindfully, the Power of the Present Moment. Have you noticed how often we live trapped in a constant back and forth between the past and the future? We relive moments we can no longer change, lamenting what we did or didn't do, or we worry about what is to come, imagining scenarios that often don't happen. But in all that process, we forget the only thing that truly exists, this moment, here and now. Mindfulness, or attention to the present moment, is a practice deeply rooted in Buddhism that 1119 invites us to return to the here and now. It is not a complicated technique or something reserved for monks or experienced meditators. It is a way of living that is available to all of us at any time and in any place. But why is it so difficult to stay present? Because our mind by nature tends to wander. We jump from one thought to another, from one emotion to another, without stopping to observe what is really happening. Imagine for a moment that you are eating your favorite food. How often, while eating, do you truly pay attention to the taste, the 1153 texture, the aroma? Or instead, how often do you eat while checking your phone, thinking about your to-do list, or worrying about something that happened hours ago? Every bite is an opportunity to be present, but many times we let it slip away. Living mindfully is like rediscovering the world moment by moment, even in the simplest activities. Mindfulness begins with something as basic as breathing. Our breath is always with us, yet we rarely stop to notice it. Right now, as you read this, take a moment to pay attention to your breathing. Don't 1226 try to control it, just observe it. Feel how the air enters through your nose, how it fills your lungs, how it leaves again. This simple act of observing your breath can bring a sense of calm and clarity that few things can match. But mindfulness is not limited to the breath. It is about being present in every aspect of our lives. When you walk, do you notice the contact of your feet with the ground? Do you feel how the air brushes against your skin? When you talk to someone, do you really listen? Or are you waiting for your turn to respond? 1258 Mindfulness invites us to be fully immersed in what we are doing, not because it is special but because it is the only thing we truly have. However, living mindfully does not mean we can't plan for the future or learn from the past. It means doing so from a place of clarity instead of being caught up in fear or nostalgia. For example, when you reflect on a past mistake, instead of blaming yourself, you can observe it with curiosity. Ask yourself, what can I learn from this? And when you think about the future instead of worrying about what 1330 might go wrong, you can focus on what you can do now to prepare. One of the most powerful aspects of mindfulness is that it transforms our relationship with our emotions. Many times when we feel anger, sadness, or anxiety, we try to ignore or suppress them, but these emotions don't disappear, they stay with us, affecting how we think and act. Mindfulness invites us to do something radical, to sit with our emotions, to observe them without judgment. In doing so, we realize that emotions are like waves in the ocean. They come, reach their peak, and 1404 eventually pass. We don't need to cling to them or be swept away. Simply observing them is enough to begin transforming them. This doesn't mean that mindfulness is easy at first. It can be disconcerting to realize how much time we spend distracted, but each time we bring our attention back to the present moment, even for a few seconds, we are training our mind. It's like strengthening a muscle. Over time it becomes easier and more natural. One of the great advantages of living mindfully is that it helps us rediscover the 1436. Beauty in simple things: a sunrise, the sound of rain, the aroma of freshly brewed coffee, the laughter of a loved one. These things have always been there, but when we are trapped in our minds we overlook them. Mindfulness brings us back to them, allowing us to experience them fully. Furthermore, mindfulness helps us connect more deeply with others. How often have you been in a conversation, but instead of truly listening you were thinking about what you were going to say next? When we practice mindfulness we learn to truly listen with our hearts. 1509. Not just our ears. This not only improves our relationships but also allows us to understand others and ourselves better. Now you may be wondering, how do I start? You don't need to make drastic changes in your life. You can start with small moments of mindfulness. The next time you wash your hands, pay attention to the water, the soap, the sensation on your skin. The next time you take a sip of water, feel how it moves in your mouth and goes down your throat. Each of these moments is an opportunity to be present. If you have more time you can try a 1543. Short meditation. Sit in a quiet place, close your eyes and focus your attention on your breath. When your mind gets distracted, simply return to your breath. There is no wrong way to do it. Each time you try, you are training your mind to be more present. Living mindfully doesn't mean you will never face challenges or difficulties, but when you are present you face life with more clarity, more patience, more compassion. You discover that you don't need to change external circumstances to feel peace. Peace is not out there, it has 1616. Always been here waiting for you to find it moment by moment. So I invite you to reflect how many moments in your life have gone unnoticed because you were distracted. What could you discover if you decide to be more present? And more importantly, how would your life change if instead of constantly seeking something in the future you found satisfaction here and now? If this message is helping you see life from a new perspective, I invite you to join us on this journey. Subscribe to the channel to continue exploring these teachings. 1647. And share it with someone who might need it. Chapter 4. Letting go of desire and attachment. Why do we suffer? What really keeps us trapped in a constant cycle of dissatisfaction? Buddhism has a direct answer: desire and attachment. But don't confuse this with the idea that wanting things is inherently bad. What causes us suffering is not desire itself but our relationship with it. We cling to people, objects and expectations thinking they will give us lasting happiness, but reality shows us again and again that nothing is permanent. Imagine holding a 1726. Balloon filled with air in your hands. If you hold it gently it floats and remains light, but if you squeeze it too hard it bursts. Our relationship with desires is similar. When we try to possess something too tightly, when we build our identity or happiness around it, what could have been a source of joy becomes a cause of suffering. Attachment arises because we believe something outside of us will make us feel complete. We want that new car because we think it will give us status. We want that perfect relationship. 1758. Because we think it will provide emotional security. We want to achieve that goal because we believe that then and only then we will be happy. But the problem isn't in wanting those things, it's in believing we cannot be happy without them. Think of a time when you got something you really wanted. Maybe it was a promotion at work, an academic achievement, or even a romantic relationship. At first it was exciting, wasn't it? But over time the novelty faded and you started wanting something new. This isn't a personal flaw, it's how 1830. Our mind works. We are always looking for the next thing, believing it will fill what's missing. But Buddhism invites us to question this constant pursuit. Buddha taught that desire, or tanha in Sanskrit, is like an unquenchable thirst. We drink and drink but always want more, and as long as we continue searching outside ourselves for what is already within, we will remain trapped in this cycle. However, this doesn't mean we should eliminate all desires. It's not about living an empty or ambitionless life, it's about changing our relationship 1903 with desires and learning to let go of the attachment that keeps us chained. Imagine for a moment that you are holding a rope tightly. At the other end is something you want, but the harder you pull the more difficult it becomes to hold on. Eventually you realize that letting go of the rope doesn't mean losing something. On the contrary, it means freeing yourself from the tension that was exhausting you. Letting go of attachment is not the same as renouncing. You can love someone deeply without clinging to the idea that this 1933 Person should never change or leave. You can enjoy your achievements without depending on them to define your worth. Letting go doesn't mean you care less, it means you relate to things and people from a place of freedom, not need. A clear example of this is nature itself. Look at a tree in autumn, its leaves fall, but the tree doesn't struggle to hold on to them. It knows it's part of its natural cycle, and by letting go of the leaves it prepares for new growth. In spring our life is also cyclical. Things, people and experiences come and go, and when we 2007 learn to accept this, we find a peace that doesn't depend on external circumstances. But how do we let go of attachment? It's not something that happens overnight, it's a process of observation and practice. The first step is to become aware of what is binding you. Ask yourself, what desire is causing me suffering right now? Why do I feel like I need it so much? Often upon reflection we realize that what we are truly seeking is not the object or experience itself, but an emotion, love, security, acceptance. And when we understand this, we can start looking for 2043 those emotions within ourselves instead of depending on the external. Another key step is practicing detachment in small things. For example, if you lose something material like an object you valued greatly, observe how you feel. At first there may be frustration or sadness, but if you allow yourself to sit with those emotions without resisting them, you'll notice they eventually fade. This small exercise shows you that happiness wasn't in that object but in your perception of it. Meditation is a powerful tool for cultivating detachment. When you sit to 2115 meditate, you're not trying to control your thoughts or emotions, you simply observe them, and in doing so you realize that you don't need to cling to them. They are like clouds in the sky, they appear, change shape and eventually disappear. This practice trains you to let go of what you don't need, not just in meditation but in your daily life. Letting go isn't always easy, sometimes it hurts, but that pain is a sign of growth. Each time you let go of something you create space for something new. And more importantly, you free yourself from 2150 the weight that was holding you back. In the end, the purpose of detachment is not to live without emotions or relationships, it is to live with them in a freer, more authentic way. It is to love someone without fearing losing them. It is to enjoy something without fearing its end. It is to fully live the present moment without depending on things being a specific way to be happy. So I invite you to reflect, what things in your life are causing you suffering because you are clinging to them? What would happen if you learned to let them go, not as an 2222 act of loss but as an act of liberation? Letting go doesn't mean giving up, it means opening yourself to the possibility of a lighter, fuller, more authentic music life. Chapter 5 Living with Purpose, Peace, Clarity and Compassion. Have you ever felt like you are living without a clear purpose? Perhaps you fulfill your responsibilities, follow your routine, but there's a persistent sense that something is missing, as if you're walking without a defined destination. This restlessness is not uncommon, and many of us have felt it at some point in 2257 our lives. Buddhism offers us an answer. The purpose of life is not about pursuing something external but about cultivating inner peace, clarity and a compassionate connection with the world around us. Most people seek purpose in achievements, possessions or relationships. We want to feel that our actions have meaning, that our life has significance beyond the everyday. But what Buddhism teaches us is that true purpose is not out there, it is in here. It's not about what you do but about how you do it and who you become. In the 2327 process, peace, clarity and compassion are the fundamental pillars of a purposeful life according to Buddhism. But what do they really mean? Peace is not simply the absence of conflict or noise, it is an internal state that arises when you stop fighting against what you cannot control and learn to accept life as it is. It doesn't mean you will never face challenges or difficulties, but that even in the midst of them you can find a place of calm within yourself. Imagine being in the middle of a storm. The wind blows fiercely, the rain pounds intensely. 2400 hours. But at the center of it all there is a calm space, the eye of the storm, that is inner peace. It's not about avoiding the storm but finding that center within it. Clarity, on the other hand, is the ability to see things as they are without the distortions of our emotions, prejudices or expectations. Many times our view of life is clouded by our desires and fears. We want things to be a certain way, and when they are not we suffer. Clarity arises when we learn to look beyond those clouds and see reality with objectivity and understanding. 2400 hours 34 example. Imagine you have a conflict with someone close to you. If you act from emotion you may say things you later regret or withdraw without resolving anything. But if you approach the situation with clarity you can see not only your perspective but also that of the other person. You can acknowledge your own emotions without letting them dominate you. That clarity not only reduces suffering but also opens the door to compassion. Compassion is the third pillar and perhaps the most transformative in Buddhism. Compassion is 25:05. Not just feeling pity for the suffering of others, it is a deep desire to alleviate it, to act in ways that benefit others. But here's something important: compassion begins with yourself. Many times we are hard on ourselves, judging ourselves, demanding more than our limits allow. But how can we truly be compassionate toward others if we are not first compassionate toward ourselves? Being compassionate with yourself means accepting your mistakes, your imperfections, your failures, and treating them as you would a dear friend. It means 25:36. Recognizing that like everyone else you are learning, growing, and doing the best you can. Once you cultivate that compassion toward yourself, it begins to extend to others. You realize that everyone is struggling with something, even if they don't show it. That understanding allows you to be more patient, more kind, and more willing to help. But how does all this connect with the purpose of life? When you live with peace, clarity, and compassion, you discover that purpose is not about achieving something outside of yourself. 26:06. But about how you choose to live each moment. Every interaction, every decision, every challenge becomes an opportunity to practice these pillars. For example, think about your relationships. Maybe you've had disagreements or conflicts. Like everyone, what would happen if instead of reacting automatically you chose to respond from a place of peace, with clarity about your emotions and compassion toward the other person? That interaction would likely be much more meaningful and connected. Purpose is not something fixed or definitive. It is not 26:39. A goal you reach and that's it. It is a continuous process, a path you walk day by day. It is the choice to live in a way that reflects your deepest values, that brings peace to your life and to the lives of those around you. So I invite you to reflect, what does living with purpose mean to you? Perhaps it's about being more present in your relationships. Perhaps it's about contributing to something greater than yourself. Or perhaps it's simply about being kind to yourself and to others. Whatever your answer, what matters is 27:10. That it's authentic, that it comes from a place of truth within you. If this message has resonated with you, subscribe to the channel and share your thoughts in the comments. I'd love to know, what small or big actions could you take today to live with more peace, clarity, and compassion? Each reflection enriches this community and helps us learn from one another, because in the end, finding our purpose is not something we do alone, it is a journey we take together.